Creating a piece of iconic sport memorabilia here, the Cricket World Cup trophy. If you're familiar with our channel and our website, you can see that we've created various items for past sporting events, like the Football World Cup trophy, that's soccer to you guys across the pond, and even the giant Triwizard Tournament Cup for Harry Potter, but this is a different sort of challenge. Now, for anyone that keeps up to date with cricket, or even someone as involved as a cricket player, no doubt this design should be familiar to you. The golden globe at the top depicts a cricket ball, the three slender curved arms running down representing cricket stumps and the three main elements of cricket, bowling, batting and fielding, and the base to depict winners over the last few decades. The International Cricket Council, or the ICC, originally commissioned Ottawell silversmiths to create the real trophy at 650mm tall. The in-depth processes and pure craftsmanship of creating something like this, at this sort of intricacy and bespoke specification, is highly commendable, but the brief that we've been given is a little different. Where this was created to be handheld, stand on a desk and look glorious in a cabinet, we've been asked to take this design and blow this up to a completely new scale, namely 3 meters tall. No lower degree of craftsmanship is needed, but merely a different set of trades and skills, as the height, the material and the weight all need to be changed and tailor-made for the new sculpture brief. We've been contacted by Claire Knowles from Total Design, who's come down to the studio with a very particular item in a very well packaged case. Now, for insurance reasons, we didn't want said object to remain in this dusty, dirty, spontaneous dance-prone studio, so we took our reference shots from as many angles as possible so we had proper details to refer back to. There's always a ton of working out to do when creating something like this, so that we can iron out any initial problems, work out exactly how each element will be created, and how the entire piece will be constructed as one unit. The sculpture will predominantly be made from glass fibre, with an internal metalwork structure. The metalwork will ensure the trophy can support its own weight without needing to rely too much on the strength of the fiberglass. This will also play a crucial role when the sculpture is tipped and laid down for transportation, and as this is going to be moving from site to site and raised and lowered several times, this means the strength of the metalwork will be a crucial aspect. Elements like the base and the arms will be carved from polystyrene, then moulded and then laid up in glass fibre. A cast will be taken twice from a 1 metre hemisphere mould, and these will be joined together to create the complete cricket ball. The top ring will need to be created from scratch, using plaswoods and beading to give the appropriate shape, and this will then be moulded and cast in glass fibre like the rest of the pieces. One of our freelance sculptors, Chris, is here in the studio working on the stump arms while Aidan works on the base, and I think it's about time we lighten the mood of this project. You right there, Chris?
Yeah, I'm just stumped.
Yeah, you know what they say, there's grass on the wicket.
That's right.
Joking aside, we need to make sure that the arm that's being created here in its polystyrene form is completely accurate, as remember this is going to be moulded and then replicated 3 times over. Any mistake here would result in a recurring error in all 3 casts, and it's much easier to make changes now. Well, we made all the amendments now, Chris.
How's that?
Very good.
Bowled out now.
Bowled out. No, you haven't got the balls for any more jokes, have you? Yep. I'm going to bow you out of saying any more. And what about you, Kevin?
Yeah, and I'm out for 6.
Out for 6. With other elements being created simultaneously, the arm is now ready to be moulded. We're going over with our secretly sourced sticky back tinfoil, and this protects the polystyrene from the resin about to go on top in order to create the mould itself. We give this a juicy build-up of glass fibre after a gel coat layer has been applied, and once everything is cured, the master pattern is then removed. The black plastic you can see is being used because it's nice and smooth, and it's so that we can create a dividing wall between the inside and outside piece of the 2-piece mould. We're also laminating wooden battens onto the back so that the shape doesn't rock around when we're working on it later.
When we finish laying up the 3 sets of fiberglass, remembering it's going to be about 5mm thickness of actual shell, I'm going to send this mould off to the metalwork people and see if they can bend or form their tubes of stainless steel in there, which we can then embed inside our fiberglass, and then we can weld them together at top and bottom to make sure the whole structure doesn't move at all, and then the fiberglass actually becomes just a piece of cosmetics and the metalwork is actually doing all the structural work. Yeah, I think it will work really nice, but it's nice to give them a pattern to work to.
On to the base section now, where we start with our usual large billets of polystyrene, and because this base is over 4 foot in diameter, this means we have to adhere our blocks together using our polyurethane expanding foam. This is one of the rare occasions where the turntable gets to stretch its legs, or stretch its singular wheel, or yeah, I didn't think that one through. This gets to be used. Large pieces are taken off using a hot wire, and much like the sexy scene in Ghost in the Potter's Wheel, the shape is formed by hand, only it's poly instead of clay, and there's no Whoopi Goldberg on this occasion. Can we get a thumbs up or something? Know what I mean? No, well, that's the clip now. That's the clip. So when Patrick sways, when Aidan's happy with the form, a water-based paint and filler is applied on top so that this can be sanded down to lose that polystyrene bead texture. All the mould making's going on at the moment. The ring that holds the cricket ball in place at the top of the sculpture is being made from a smooth plas wood. For the extra detailing around the perimeter of the top ring, and for the equator of the cricket ball, we've actually dampened down some smooth wooden beading or doweling to attach to the shapes for the appropriate effect. So that we don't have to do as much cleaning up on the inside of this mould, and as the weather's nice and hot, we've actually used a PVA glue on the base to form the barrier between the pattern and the resin for the mould. The pros of using the sticky back tin foil is that it's quick, it doesn't require time to dry, and you can pretty much hit everything all in one pass as opposed to applying multiple layers. The cons, on the other hand, is that it's sometimes very hard to get hold of, as many of you know, and the foil does leave very light but albeit noticeable lines and wrinkles across the mould surface which need to be cleaned up later. We're using this glue to eliminate the cleaning up time for this base as much as possible. For this mould it's being created in 4 pieces, so we've created dividing walls, and here a gel coat has been applied straight on top of the glue and then backed up with glass fibre. Everything then needs to be taken apart once the materials have cured and the pattern inside is removed, sometimes easier said than done. Now, there's something oddly satisfying about that, like peeling the PVA glue layers off your hand at school. I don't know what it is, it's therapeutic. Anyway, once the pattern's been removed, and this oddly satisfying PVA glue layer, the inside of the mould still needs to be cleaned up. This is to help eliminate any ripples or residual marks in the gel coat that would be translated into the cast. The plastic disc inserts that were placed on the master pattern earlier create the 11 raised surfaces around the clock, and these will eventually have decal transfers added with winning country details later on. We're using a PVA blue as a release agent, and this is given a couple of layers, each left to dry, before going in with a gel coat and glass fibre. The mould pieces have been bolted together in 2 halves along exterior flanges, so rather than bolting the whole thing together and struggling to get inside, this makes laying up much more manageable. The 2 halves have now been joined and laminated along the final halfway seam line now that the 2 halves have cured. Hopefully, with the surface of the mould already sanded down and treated, only the seam lines where the moulds meet will require a lot of attention, but we do need to make sure that the surface is completely prepared for the paint sprayers later. So, after speaking with our metalwork manufacturers, we've decided that rather than getting these metal arms sent away and paying to have each of them put through a roller, we're simply going to bend them to the correct form here in the studio. We figured the bars could still come back to the workshop and we find they don't fit the shape correctly, and this means we would need to send all the bars back again to be reshaped, which would have worked out to be expensive and time consuming, so we're going to do everything here in-house. This means we can offer each bar up to the fiberglass cast after each bend, and we keep tweaking until we get it right. It's nice when you can do something yourself. Here we have young Ruth, graduating for the first time with a spray gun. She's also earned herself a minifigure as well, so that's an even bigger achievement here at Sculpture Studios. We're going over with a black layer just to see what we have and to see what areas require more work. With the majority of the elements nearing their individual completion, it's time to invite Claire back down to the studio to see the progress of the work so far. The next stages of the process are talked through, like the artwork and the chrome and gold effect finishes, the details on the discs and the way in which the globe will be decorated, but the main focus needs to go on the transportation. Claire's been in contact with Jem Wilshire from Red Sky at Night, who will be handling the logistics side of the project. All the working out needs to be done of how the trophy will be loaded and unloaded, onto what vehicle, how this will be positioned and moved again without being damaged, all requiring a very small team. Ideally, this needs to be managed by just 2 or 3 people, so this requires some thought into the base section, the fixings, and any mechanism needed for standing the trophy upright and laying it down again safely. We're not sure just how many locations this is going to, so this is why it's imperative that the sculpture is as strong as it is, and it's a good thing that Jem is as strong as he is as well. Here on the top ring, we've marked out the 4 points around the clock that the crossbar for the globe metalwork will sit, and also the 3 points that the cricket stump arms will attach onto. We need to make sure that these locations don't clash, so that we can install everything securely without things getting in the way of each other. A section of fiberglass will be removed from the exterior surface, so that we can have access to create a really strong weld from the upright poles to the metalwork inside the ring itself. We're having metalwork brackets cut to fit the interior of the fiberglass exactly, and Martin from Fine Limit will come down to the studio to fix everything in place further down the line. We've had to really study the original trophy properly, and this is why it's important to take so many reference shots. Though it may not look it, there will be a definite front to the sculpture, and this will be where the stitching on the globe slopes diagonally up to the right hand side as you look from the front, and the 3 spoke legs positioned accordingly. The front also needs to be lined up with the correct date decals on the base section discs, so this all needs to be worked out and thought about throughout the entire process.
do some 2K spraying. I think most of it's actually quite nice and flat, but I'm going to give it another top coat just to knock off all the imperfections before we send it away to be chromed. And I'm pretty sure that they'll do their own blacking anyway, but belt and braces really.
We're currently working on creating a frame, so when this is laid down for transportation, God, look at that butt, go on Kev! We can put a temporary tarpaulin over the top to protect this as it's sent away to the chromers. This will eventually be upgraded to a frame clad with wooden panels, as the tarpaulin won't be able to survive multiple trips. This will also save a lot of setting up and taking down time, and the music has changed for, oh yes, of course. So, boss, what's happening here?
Well, just preparing to get this trophy up onto the flatbed truck to be sent up north and be chromed. So, and all being well, we should leave about 5:30 in the morning to get there by 8 o'clock.
A little bit dusty, but we're going to wipe this down before we wrap it. Everything's been sprayed black as a base layer, and we're sending a gold colour sample down there to the chromers so they have a colour to match for the ball, and obviously everything else that's going to be silver is just going to be a chrome silver. There's going to be another couple of vinyls that are going to be placed on the inside of the stump legs, and Pete Frost is going to work his magic on the globe, and then each of these circles is going to have details written in vinyl, and they're going to be on silver plates. So now it's time to move it!
When it hits you, yes.
As you know already from this video, and probably from a lot of our other videos, we love to do as much of the project as possible. Often we need to dedicate the work to more practical hands or places that are far less dusty, such as specialist metalwork, or in this case, getting the sculpture painted in a chrome effect finish. It's one of the only times where the project is sort of out of our hands, so it's always something we're apprehensive about. With all the hard work we've put in so far, it's really quite crucial that this turns out to be right. For such a large shape with so many ins and outs, it's a tricky thing to achieve, but we'll let you be the judge. Inviting the clients back down to the studio as we're nearing completion of the artwork. Claire and Jem have come to make sure everything's in order before we add the final finishing touches. Pete Frost from Stanford Signs, who does a fantastic job with our vinyl and transfer work, has created the decals to go on the plates around the base. To ensure these are of the highest standard, as these will all be at eye level once the trophy's raised on the plinth, we've had the discs laser cut from polished stainless steel. These are then added to the base with anti-tamper screws, which will hopefully save people running off with one. Moving round the clock, the 11 faces depict the winning country every 4 years, from 2015 all the way back to 1975. Decal stickers also need to be placed on the inside of each cricket stump, and wording that needs to go around the top ring. We've been sent text files from the client so that these vinyl graphics are as close to the real-life trophy as possible. Pete's now starting work on the globe itself, where to really have this stand out in the sunshine at this larger scale, rather than this being an etch into the surface, all of the contour lines and continents are going to be painted by hand. Along with the giant cricket ball seating, where if you haven't seen a video for this, there'll be a link in the YouTube description once everything's out in the open, the sculpture's gone on tour all around the UK. This was photographed alongside a replica of the real trophy right beside it for comparison, so it's just as well that we made this as close to the original as we possibly could. Online, what with all the hundreds of thousands of videos and images of the 2019 Cricket World Cup, it was actually difficult to gain access to proper social media images or footage of the sculpture out in the open, but luckily Claire hooked us up with some final shots of the trophy out in the public domain in all its glory. We also made it into the local paper, promoting Basildon's resident sculptor, which is always a nice cherry on top. Looking back on this project, this has been a real mixed bag in terms of the processes needed to create this, the puzzle of how this is going to be stood up, laid down and moved. We have to thank Jem and his team from Red Sky at Night for that one, and for making sure that our client is completely happy with the creation throughout. It's always one of the most important aspects of the work for us that our client has the result they were after, so we really hope we've done this project proud. A massive thank you must go to Claire Knowles from Total Design for approaching us with the work and for ensuring that we were commissioned both for the trophy and the cricket ball seating aspects of the project. Not only is it great for our channel and our portfolio, but will hopefully inspire more work with Claire, Total Design and Red Sky at Night for the future. We've absolutely loved creating this for the ICC, so last but by no means least, thank you very much to the International Cricket Council for accommodating us with this project. On a side note, does anyone actually know the score of the England and New Zealand final? I mean, I don't even follow cricket, so I'm just gonna leave this bad boy here. Well done, lads. Couldn't have made it closer if you tried. What a time to be working for the ICC, and what a time for England. Making history with merry old England winning the Cricket World Cup for the very first time, and also a win for Lewis Hamilton and the Grand Prix, all in the same day. If you happen to see this sculpture out and about, perhaps as a permanent feature at a particular location, you now know where it came from. Please feel free to leave any comments below, as they're always appreciated, and hit the subscribe button for our latest videos. You can like Sculpture Studios on Facebook and follow @Aidan Hines on Twitter, and for more of our work, visit sculpturestudios.co.uk. Thank you very much for watching.